And then also, another rookie, Tyler, that's pushed up draft boards right now. We saw a 100-yard kick return in the playoffs by a rookie running back. And Treveyon Henderson has quietly gone from like RB 25 to 30 range to now like inside the top 20. I've seen him as high as like top 12 to 15 on some people's boards, and he's climbing up into like third, fourth round territory. A lot to be excited. I mean, the kid's got juice. I think you and I talked about him earlier this offseason and said like on tape, it pops. Like you can see the talent is there. But third, fourth round draft capital. We're talking about some established names right now that he's going over. Where are you at with Treveyon Henderson? Because this is one of those players, Tyler, where it happens. It's like during preseason, during training camp, we see a rise of like 3 to 4 rounds. Is it justified?
Yeah. So I'll say this. I'm very big on Treveyon Henderson. Prior to the preseason, he was already ranked in my top 20 running backs. And the reason why, and I've said this before, I don't look at this backfield and think that there's a lot. I've always said this with Treveyon. He's more of Gibbs is what he's going to be. He's not going to be the guy who's going to be a workhorse running back. He was banged up in college. He's not like he's big enough for the NFL, but he's not big for, 300 plus total touches, 350. He's not that kind of guy. So he's more of the Gibbs that you just keep him fresh. So I've always looked at this backfield and said, there's easy opportunity for him to come in here and see the money touches, the important touches, the passing down work, and potentially be involved in the red zone. And we saw it in this game, and I know it's only preseason, but he housed the kickoff. Like that's just he's so explosive. And that was the one thing in college. But the other important thing is that Drake May had 3 completions, and they were all to Treveyon Henderson. And this is the thing with Treveyon is that he's an excellent receiving back. And the one thing that separates him from all the other rookie running backs, honestly, even Ashton Genty, is his ability in pass pro. He is the best pass protecting block or a pass protector in this draft class. So that's going to get him on the field right away. And I know some people are going to be like, well, Ramondre is already established here. Yeah, but do you just remember last year, Ramondre was getting benched for Antonio Gibson because he couldn't hold on to the ball. This is a brand new coaching staff that has no ties to Ramondre Stevenson. It just took Treveyon Henderson in the second round. You know me. I'm big on Drake May. I love Drake May. So it's not that I think this Patriots offense is going to be very good this year. I think that the best case scenario, they're kind of in the middle of the pack in terms of like efficiency and scoring. But I just look at Treveyon and I think he's the best playmaker in this offense. So for me, I really like him. Like mid 4th round is kind of where there's just this drop off in players, and you get the DK, who I like DK, but I would argue that if Treveyon ends up being like the player that we think he can be, I think he has just as high of an upside this year with 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. Maybe I'm a bit pessimistic because I am a Steelers fan, but like I don't know if I fully believe in that. And I love DK, but like I think that that's where he should be going. Now, if he starts going in the 3rd, I'd still rather go with like Kenneth Walker over him, even like Alvin Kamara, even though that Saints quarterback room. I know it's only preseason 2, but my God, that looked disgusting.
Yeah.
So I think that's where, because even like Chuba Hubbard, I like Chuba, but
I don't. Yeah, because like I'm taking all those guys, especially as your RB2 right now. There's just less question marks about them, and yeah, I think Treveyon Henderson. There's a very strong possibility at some point he outproduces those guys. But in order to get to the fantasy playoffs, sometimes you need to have established players, and I think him going in this RB2 range, especially the high end RB2 range, it gets a little dicey now because we don't know exactly when Ramondre is going to cede all this workload to Treveyon Henderson. You talked about it. He's not really built to handle 25 touches a game. That's not really what his workload is going to be. Ramondre is going to be a part of this, whether he had the fumble issues or not. He's worked with Josh McDaniels in the past. Like Josh McDaniels is going to use a committee. He's always done that. We've seen it with like LeGarrette Blount and James White and Shane Vereen and kind of, I want to say he had Danny Woodhead too. He's had these receiving backs. It's just Treveyon Henderson's probably the best athlete that he's had out of all those guys. So I'll be curious to see what the usage looks like because if he does pop, I mean, Shane Vereen back in the day was like a low-end RB2 that I wouldn't mind starting. And I feel like that might be the workload where he's getting 4 to 5 catches and 6 to 8 touches in the ground game. So we're seeing like this RB2 production, but he's being drafted right now as like a back end RB1, high end RB2. So that's my biggest concern with Treveyon Henderson. It's not the talent, it's the initial workload. Year two might be a whole different situation where we see him as a starter and then we have somebody else ground and pound behind him. But I think right now, having an established veteran in this brand new offense is probably going to see a lot more playing time and workload earlier on in the season. I think with where he's going right now, it's a good spot upside wise. If you've already established like your top three receivers, you got your RB1, and maybe you're looking for a little bit more juice, I don't mind it. But I think sometimes he's getting pushed up into this third, fourth round where there are guys, you talked about it, like the Camaras, and some of the, even like a James Conner to me is a little bit more exciting or a little bit more polished, I would say. I want to have in my lineup as opposed
Definitely
to Henderson.
safer. I would say safer.
Safer, but you kind of need that. So I think the upside's there. I do. And I think PPR especially, you can get a nice floor because he's probably going to see 3 to 5 catches a game.
In full point PPR formats, I'd rather have – I think that's where the cutoff comes is I'd rather go with Kamara, and then I think it's kind of like then Treveyon Henderson. Although one guy got paid today, James Cook.
I'd rather have James Cook.
I'd rather have James Cook now that he got paid. They've made a big investment into him. I think I got to move James Cook up a little bit. I think after James Cook is really when it starts to open up for me.
But what about a guy like DeAndre Swift, right? Like DeAndre Swift is the RB22, and it's like he has a lot of the same type of profile, like kind of electric on the screen. When you watch tape, you watch DeAndre Swift, you're like, oh, I get really excited about like his potential. He's going to see volume in the passing game. Why not DeAndre Swift over a guy like Treveyon Henderson? Probably in a better offense too.
The problem I have with DeAndre Swift is just we've already seen him with Ben Johnson. He wasn't used around the goal line. I don't think that's going to change. I think that there's, and also I've always been a big DeAndre Swift truther. He just like, let's just call a spade a spade. He's not very good. Like he's had opportunities.
But that might be the case with. I'm not saying I'm not categorizing or saying anything about Treveyon Henderson.
No,
right
for sure, it could be
possibilities. Yeah,
absolutely.
What if he's not as good? What if he doesn't pop off the screen the same way in NFL?
I mean, that's always
we're taking him as a top 20 running back.
No, and that's always the risk, but that's why he's going where he's going. Now, you might say it's a little bit too early, but I look at like Chuba Hubbard. I mean, could there be a chance that Chuba Hubbard ends up like not seeing the workload he saw last year? James Conner, who we talk about this a lot, the running backs were historically healthy last year, and James Conner, who is chronically banged up, was really healthy for the whole season until I think the last 2 games or something like that. So he's now 30 years old. So I think that Treveyon's going in a right spot. Now, I don't think he should jump like a Kenneth Walker or somebody like that. I think he should stay where he's currently going. But you might get to the spot where he ends up doing that because the hype gets out of control. But there could be a chance where, what if, flip side of it, Treveyon Henderson's just a stud, like absolute stud. The Patriots are like, look at everybody else here. We need to get him the ball as much as we can because he gives us the best opportunity to win football games. So, and I think this team wants to win football games with the head coach that they brought in here, a new regime that I think that's the culture now. So, I see both sides. I think once again, for me personally, mid 4th round, I think is a good spot because it kind of gets to this new tier of players that I'm like, I'd just rather take the upside pick.
I'm with more like the Tony Pollards. I take a DeAndre Swift over him.
Over those guys.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have those guys in my lineup because, I mean, those are guys that can be top 10 on a weekly basis as well. So until we know the workload, I think Treveyon Henderson, personally, I think he might be going a little high, but let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments on Treveyon Henderson because I think it's an interesting debate. He could be more valuable as the season goes on, and you got to decide, do you want the upside later or maybe you're taking a little bit of the floor now?